side it goes to Tim Brown. Brown, the ex-Heisman winner from Notre Dame, is to the Buffalo 46-yard line. This is the best drive since their first possession. You see on the helmets, and particularly of Steve Wisniewski, that decal, that is the 33rd Tactical Fighter Squadron decal. His brother Vince is a major F-16 fighter pilot and a squad leader. He sent those decals over, and the offensive linemen are wearing them today. Schrader, and he had Brown open, but in a hurry, they're not getting the ball.
Well, that was the play that Kelly made earlier on that drive going the other way for Buffalo, and Schrader failed to make it because he had Brown adjusting his pattern, much like Laughlin had done, but Schrader bounced the ball to him.
And Brown was really breaking into the clear with no one in that part of the field. To go in the first half. 27-3 Buffalo. Incomplete to Horton. No flag. He thought he was hit early. Good coverage by Leonard Smith.
The Bills came after Schrader that time, and all he had was a hooking pattern to his tight end, which isn't very good against the blitz. Because Smith was right there with it.
Bruce Smith comes limping out for Buffalo. We'll keep an eye on him as he limps to the sidelines. 3rd and 10. Allen in the backfield. Hernandez right. Brown and Grady left. Wide open is Horton, but again incomplete. It might have been deflected.
Well, Horton was slipping as he was going for the ball, and as O.J. mentioned, that side of the field, the Raiders side of the field, is the slippery side of the field for some reason because of drainage. Now look at the protection's pretty decent. He throws the ball. Oh,
yeah,
it was tipped. But look at the slipping here. He couldn't quite get to it. So a tipped pass and a slipping receiver.
Jeff Wright was the man who deflected the ball. You're looking at Bruce Smith, the all-pro defensive lineman of the Bills. They worked on what appears to be an ankle. So Nate Odom drifts back to the 10-yard line as Jeff Gossett prepares to punt again for the Raiders. Leads it toward the sidelines, and it bounds into the end zone for the touchback. So Buffalo will have the ball at the 20 when we return. Bills will try to add to an already substantial lead. In some of the past plays, and here's the last play. Didn't have a very serious position.
No, he's not really moving. You see, he's lost a lot. He's troubled right there. Earlier on in the first quarter, he came out, so he's just got a problem that it's inflaming every time he tries to move.
First down at the 20, the little screen to Thurman Thomas. Look at him pick his way. 15 yards for Thomas, and with 15 yards, that gives the Bills 261 yards in this first half. They had 300 in the first half last week against Miami. Jerry Robinson up slowly after making the tackle.
The Raiders just didn't read this screen. You'll have people coming out. You see Richter coming out to the outside, and then Hull coming out and just picking their blocks to the outside on a quick screen pattern.
Now Thomas on a sweep around the left side has enough juice to get around the corner. Ricky Ellison made the stop.
Well, at this point, the Raiders are just getting out-hit, out-hustled, and it's a state of mind.
Total yardage, Thurman Thomas out-distancing the Raiders offense. They scored 27 points against Miami in the first half last week. 27 points again this week, and they've got almost 5 minutes yet to go. Thomas appears to have another first down at the 47, and the Bills now just saying, try to stop our run. Here comes Kenneth Davison, and Thomas gets a hand as he comes out.
It's all supposition, but suppose the Bills win. Then people like Thomas and Smith and all of them had better be fresh for next week.
Kelly goes deep for Andre Reed, who did an excellent job of getting in position to try to make the catch as the ball was thrown to the opposite side. Coverage by Terry McDaniel, an excellent corner from Tennessee.
Well, the execution of this Bills club is something to behold. And with the excellent personnel they've got, they just appear to be the best I've seen this year.
Kelly going deep for Tasker. Steve Tasker to the 9-yard line. 4 yards.
I believe Harden should have been over there. You see number 45. I believe he should have been rotating over to back up Lewis, and he just didn't get there.
Well, it's easy to overlook a Tasker who didn't play much as a wide receiver when you have to think about McKellar and Reed and Lofton. John Smith comes into the backfield now. Give it to Davis. Davis to the 3-yard line. We understand there are some important developments in the Gulf crisis. We go to NBC News and Garrick Utley.
Yes, Dick, we're going right to Saudi Arabia. There appears to have been a missile attack against the big base there. We're going to some videotape to Saudi Arabia to get the situation. Arthur Kent.
Get us up in audio. Please, get us up. Hello, New York. This is Saudi Arabia. This is not a drill.
This is videotape taken a few minutes ago.
Hello, New York. This is Saudi Arabia. This is not a drill. New York. Okay, let's go. We're firing Patriots. We've got flares and we've got sirens. Let's go. Focus.
This is Arthur Kent a few minutes ago in Saudi Arabia as Patriot.
There goes a Patriot. Let's go.
Patriot missiles, the anti-missile missiles, were fired against apparent incoming fire. Arthur Kent, you are now live from Saudi Arabia. Tell us what has happened. All right, sorry, we apparently do not have audio from Arthur Kent, but just to recap very quickly, a few minutes ago, a number of Patriot missiles, those are the U.S. anti-missile missiles, were fired from the big base there in Saudi Arabia, apparently against incoming missiles from Iraq. We will bring you further details as soon as we get them from Arthur Kent on the scene there. Now back to the game and Dick Enberg.
Boy, Garrick, that's sobering news from the Middle East, and Kenneth Davis has scored on a 2-yard touchdown run. It was the next play. Boy, the perspective changes so dramatically when we get the real important news of this day. That completed an 80-yard Buffalo march in 7 plays, and what would appear now to be so early in the game, an insurmountable lead at 34-3.
The Raider linemen were just stood up that time and just waded into the blockers, and Davis just flicked them, just ran right between them. So they're not coming off the blocks. Now, it could be fatigue, could be desperation, who knows, but it's sort of a foreboding thing to see this kind of score and then playing that way.
Most points scored against the Raiders this year by Buffalo, 38. When the Bills scored 24 in the fourth quarter. But the Raiders were in command into that fourth quarter, a 10-point advantage at 24-14. When Buffalo had a touchdown pass from Lofton, the Tasker block punt for a touchdown, Odom's steal from Galt of a touchdown. They've got nearly that many in the first half today, and they've done it on their own. One touchdown, Darryl Talley, the offense on their own. Talley on the intercepted touches. This time it's Ron Brown who will return the kick. And he's to the 30-yard line. Well, we look ahead as we wrap up our NFL coverage on NBC. On comes the NBA. We'll see a lot of that great face, great talent of Magic Johnson. He'll go against the Celtics. Great rivalry, the Lakers and Celtics. Super Bowl Sunday at noon on NBC. And that'll be followed by some brilliant skating, the NutraSweet World Professional Figure Skating Championships Part 2. You'll see top lady skaters, including Roz Summers and Debbie Thomas. And also the pairs, Underwood and Martini, the great pair from Canada. And 3 of the Soviet pairs. Schrader throws it right to Buffalo. This is Nate Odoms at the 30. Odoms to the 38. It's all Buffalo today here in West New York.
Schrader wants to go for it all, and Galt slows down and looks back. Odoms doesn't. So Odoms saw the ball before Galt did. Galt slowing down, Odoms speeding up and intercepting the ball.
Well, that was the matchup when Odom stole the ball along the sidelines for the big touchdown in the early season win over the Raiders. Odom's had only one interception all year, gets one here, and the Buffalo Bills and their fans can start thinking seriously about Super Bowl 25. But we have other more serious thoughts, and I understand another NBC News report will be coming up shortly. So we'll leave from Rich Stadium in Buffalo. Return you now to NBC News and Gary Gutley.
Dick, we're following up on the report of the Patriot missiles being fired from Saudi Arabia, from the big air base there, apparently after incoming Iraqi missiles were detected. A moment ago, we showed you some of the videotape there of what happened as the rockets were being fired off. Our correspondent, Arthur Kent, we believe, is standing by in Saudi Arabia. Arthur, describe what just happened.
Garrick, very suddenly, we heard the loud boom, the report of the firing of a Patriot anti-missile missile. Suddenly, flares were flying, sirens started to sound, and we realized that we were under the most intense air raid warning that we have witnessed since the beginning of Operation Desert Storm. You'll remember that 3 nights ago, an incoming Iraqi long-range missile thought to be a Scud or an improved Scud missile was intercepted and destroyed just about 17,000 feet above our position here by one of those Patriot missiles. Tonight we've seen four separate launchings, and I would tell you that they occurred at widely separate intervals, a minute apart, and all seeming to go in different directions. We heard the detonation, a loud detonation, about a mile to the north of us here, very close to the earth. It was a very, as opposed to the earlier attacks when the Patriot took off at a very steep angle, this one seemed to hug the earth, took off straight behind us here. We saw a loud flash and would assume that it had intercepted a missile very close to our position here. Again, the other 3 Patriots going off and seeming to get lost in the sky, looking for a target, but not finding one.
Arthur, is there any reports that any Iraqi missiles actually touched down on ground, hit any target there and exploded, causing any damage?
No, Garrick, we haven't heard any incoming, and of course the explosive power of these Scuds, carrying anything from a 1,000-pound to a 2,000-pound warhead, is quite great in terms of the noise and vibration, the shock that it causes. As we saw in Israel, there's no evidence yet that any of these missiles can carry a chemical charge. We would be looking at a conventional explosive charge, and I certainly didn't feel anything as we have noticed in the past.
Arthur, Arthur, we're continuing to hear the warning sirens and the alarms going on behind you there in Saudi Arabia. Any indication as to when you might get some information from military sources there as to exactly what happened?
No, Garrick, what will be happening now is that on the air base and here at our location in this hotel, people will be heading for the shelters. They will be on maximum MOP alert, which means they'll be donning their chemical warfare protective suits and clothing, which we're keeping close at hand here. But we would remind you that we have decided, as we have in past, to continue broadcasting to you through these attacks. And we would not expect any official confirmation of what's happened here tonight until tomorrow.
Arthur, I assume this all happened so quickly you didn't have time to go down to the bunker.
Yes, Garrick, and I'm just being told by Mike Betcher that the military is now donning its masks, and yes, people are going down in the shelter. No, Garrick, we were here preparing to speak to you during halftime of the football game with a report telling of the intensified bombing raids that have been launched from this and other air bases in Saudi Arabia when this quite literally sprang upon us.
Well, Arthur, tell us, if other people are going into the bunker, are they being told to do so by the military, and if so, should you be going now?
In all likelihood, Garrick, that would be a wise course of action if we were not concerned with making sure that we're broadcasting to you. But we've handled this kind of threat before. We're dealing with conventional warheads, as we've seen in Israel, and those of us here feel we should stay at our posts.
Arthur, thank you very much. Go into the bunker with the others. We have your videotape report from earlier on. We'll get back to you, and you can come back and report on the latest events there. But go now into the bunker. Thank you very much. Okay. Arthur Kent, there on the scene in Saudi Arabia. Of course, we'll bring you developments as we get more information, and we'll have a report during halftime. I'm Garrett Gutley, back now to the game in Dick Enberg.
And we're back at Rich Stadium in Buffalo. Thurman Thomas, the workhorse for the Bills, finally stopped. He had fumbled on the last play after a gain of about 9, but was recovered by one of his teammates. That was a 2nd and 1 call. This is the championship game. The winner goes to the Super Bowl, and Buffalo, a near record performance scoring here in a playoff game in the first half. The Washington Redskins scored 38 against the Los Angeles Rams a few years ago for the all-time mark. And Lofton trying to give the Bills the record as he catches it inbounds at the 8-yard line.
There's a flag down.
Lionel Washington tried to hold him at the line of scrimmage and just lost track of him. See, Lionel is trying to hold him up rather than run with him. And he got, once James was by Lionel, it was over.
A flag down apparently against the Raiders.
That would have to be defensive holding. So James Lofton can still run. These guys have to understand that.
Defense. Penalty declined.
Lofton, a former Raider, and of course a former Stanford player. I had a chance to coach him for a year at Stanford. A great athlete, but he hasn't lost any speed, or he's lost some, but not a lot. But he's physically strong. You can't hold him up at the line of scrimmage. And Washington tried to do it, and you can see what the results were.
So the Bills have piled up 380 yards.
Forward pass catch is being reviewed.
Play. Now he got his
had
feet
both
easily.
in, sure.
Got him down 4 times.
Now James was the 4th receiver
3
for the Raiders, and was released by the Raiders because they felt that Fernandez, Tim Brown, Willie Gault were, in their eyes, superior at that point in their careers. And James, as a 4th receiver, isn't a special teams man. Couldn't do much else, so they released him. And this guy,
On review, the play stands. First down.
and this guy can certainly still play. Now they have Sam Grady, who doesn't get to play that much. He's got great Olympic speed. They've got Alexander on the IR, so they're loaded. But Lofton can still play.
First and goal at the 8. Lofton for a touchdown.
Lionel Washington tried the same thing again. Still trying to muscle with James, and he can't do it. It's that simple. He tried to muscle with him right at the line. Take a look here. Tried to hold him up. And Lofton's so experienced. He started to the outside and then just pushed Washington past him for an easy touchdown.
James Lofton, acquired by Al Davis from Green Bay. Of course, Lofton was a #1 draft pick and could well finish #2, maybe even #1 in reception yardage in NFL career. Norwood hits the extra point. You've just seen a record-scoring first half in National Football League playoff action. 41 here in Buffalo. Just seconds remaining. Buffalo having a record-scoring fest here in the first half. 41-3. The Raiders with time running out. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Schrader stops the clock, and that'll give him one final play.
Now, Bruce Smith, it'll be interesting, Dick, to see if Smith plays, if Thomas play in the second half. Because just assume that the Bills are going to the Super Bowl in one short week. They had better be as healthy and as fresh as they can get. So you'd wonder whether Marv Lee would start pulling some of these critical guys off that field to get ready for the World's Championship.
And Smith has come off the field on one occasion today, limping, but he's in there now. 41-3. And he felt this would be a classic battle against two teams that are considered two power teams, the two best teams by record and by most accounting in the AFC, but lopsided indeed. And now it's Schrader running for his life. And out of bounds. And of course, that's only on this day. You have to watch all of the old sports expressions. Many of them do not fit in light of the disaster in the Gulf War. It's halftime in Buffalo.
Inspired, and this is one of the best teams I've seen in recent years. It goes down with the Bears, the Giants, and the 49ers.
Well, we'll talk about the 49ers, what you think about their game with the Giants as this second half progresses. There'll be time for a lot of speculation as the Bills need a little more than to just keep the Raiders in a bit of a check to secure their Super Bowl spot.
Now, Dick, it's Raider pride. Now, they've spoken of their pride, their history, their heritage, and obviously the game's out of reach. Now, how do they play football for 30 minutes just because it's football? The stakes are gone now. It's over now. And so now it's up to the Raiders to play football related to the pride they have as an organization and as a team. And I'm sure Art Shell got that to them at halftime. And Smith is still in the ballgame.
Leading 41-3. Jay Schrader. Ethan Horton out of bounds after a gain of about 8. Nate Odoms on the coverage.
I'm sure Smith wants to be in the game. He's waited all year for a game like this. Oh,
little
trouble.
Scuffle across the way.
Little altercation. That'll happen, I'm sure. Frustrated Raiders are bound to have these kind of things happen. And this hope that the Bills don't flaunt it or taunt the Raiders as this game progresses. But Smith, I'm sure, wants to play. But at some point, someone's going to have the nerve to tell him, you're going to sit it out until next week. They have to have this guy next week. He's got to be 100% healthy.
Schrader run out of bounds at the 44-yard line.
They don't want to belabor Smith, but he's not moving well, Vic. He's not 100%. I mean, that time he was smoothly blocked by Steve Wright, and he was pushed right past the play. The guy's not 100%, yet he's still in the ballgame.
Well, you remember way back in the early part of the season at Miami when Marv Levy, recognizing defeat to the Dolphins, pulled Smith and some other starters out, and that created that argument with Smith and the coaches. And it was at that point that they had a real getting together of the team and coaches and decided, hey, we've got to start focusing. And they all credit that moment to the start of the success of this season. Schrader will run it again. To the Buffalo 49-yard line. Let's go back to Bruce Smith and what's going on.
Smith's going to be confronted by Steve Wright, the right tackle, coming up the field, and Steve just in good position. You see Smith just Steve's trying to take it out on him, but Bruce just isn't himself right this minute, and he's not going to get better.
Just the start of the second half. Buffalo with a record-setting point production in the first half for a first half of any playoff game in NFL history. 41-3. Marcus Allen, who had only 10 yards rushing the entire first half, while his counterpart with the Bills, Thurman Thomas, racked up 109. Seals and Smith in on that tackle.
It's really the test, the character of a football team, to be out of a game, totally out of a game, and still continuing to play with real intensity.
Kirby Jackson and Tim Brown.
Looks like Jackson's trying to explain himself more than confront Brown.
First down at the Bills 44. Blitz from Jackson, and he gets him. Kirby Jackson on a corner blitz.
Well, they'd brought him before, and he hadn't quite got there. This time, Schrader had a pass developing well down the field, so Schrader was going to take time to get there. You see 47 coming on the left of the screen. No one there to block him, naturally. Schrader wasn't looking to that side, and so he just didn't see him coming.
Well, and occupying two blockers to stop Bruce Smith, that really gives Jackson an open avenue, doesn't it? Screen to Allen up the middle. He has some moves. Allen finally ducks out of bounds at the 35-yard line, close to a first down. Nate Odoms, closest Bill.
At this point, the Raiders are playing good, solid football and attempting to execute and move the ball. Obviously, the game's out of reach, but they're playing football, and that's the character of the ball club.
Schrader almost casual in setting up on 3rd and 2. And Allen gets the first down straight ahead to the 32-yard line, where Conlon and Seals wrap him up. Are you shocked? You heard Will McDonough say at halftime that he called this the greatest offensive performance in the first half that he can ever remember. Would you put it in that category?
Well, you have to say that because everything has worked. Their running game, their passing game, their spontaneous plays, everything has worked.
Raiders got their only points of field goal on their first possession. Schrader on top, has a man. Fernandez intercepted. Mark Kelso ducks in front, and Kelso from William and Mary picks it off.
Kelso coming back from a broken leg.
Suffered against the Raiders in their game 5 of the season. He's a ball hawk, took it right away from Fernandez. Oh, the mighty Bills continue. And with the interception, academic All-America, William and Mary, Mark Kelso, quality person who, when he broke his leg against the Raiders, had some children here as his guests. And while had the presence while they're carting him off, make sure someone took care of the kids. And the ground game now, Buffalo will certainly be their inspiration as they start at the 5-yard line. And Thurman Thomas, he too, like Smith, how far do you go with Thomas with a big lead when you've got Don Smith and Kenneth Davis to run the ball?
Well, it's so early in the second half, but at some point soon they should play other people just by that remote chance there'll be an injury that would cost them